The next video on the channel was supposed to be the Twilight one and then the Encanto one, but I've got to talk about this, so that's where we're at. For several days now, I kept almost making this video, and then I said to myself, no, I don't want just a rambly video where I talk about my thoughts on like race-lifting characters and Percy Jackson and stuff. I don't want to film a video of me just talking and not actually contributing anything of worth. But then I kept thinking about it, and I thought, well, I do have some things that I think might be of substance, like actionable suggestions I think that would be interesting to either, if the showrunners are by chance watching this video, put into action, or on the more likely event that it's just fans watching this video, just kind of think on and ruminate on. I am thinking of the children. I am thinking of the children. I am thinking of the children. Let's do this. Greetings and salutations, beautiful humans. If you're not tapped into the Percy Jackson fandom or into just the general news of the upcoming Percy Jackson Disney Plus show, news has dropped about the casting of the Percy Jackson Disney Plus show. Percy himself has been cast as Walker Scobell, the boy who was in The Atom Project with Ryan Reynolds. Haven't seen that, but I've seen little clips of it arranged in videos called Why He's the Perfect Percy Jackson, etc. And he definitely seems like an actor who can bring the character to life, so good for you, Walker. Great job. I don't know if we're at a place where I can call you by your first name. No, you're a little boy, it's fine. And then more recently, like about a week ago, they cast Grover and Annabeth as Leah Jeffries and Aryan. One second. No, I got an ad.
Celebrate every kiss with K.
Aryan. It's Aryan Simhadri. Okay, I looked it up and it is Aryan. So, we have our Percy, our Grover, and our Annabeth cast. It's very cool news and I'm very excited about all of them, but I am kind of going to be focusing on Annabeth in this video for a variety of reasons. Here's where you as a viewer are like, probably for one reason, right? Okay, listen. Shh, okay, can we not be like weird and winking about it? We do have a black Annabeth now. In the books, Annabeth was described as tan-skinned and blonde and a typical California girl. Leah Jeffries is a black girl. She was cast in the role after having auditioned and done well. There is an unfair amount of discourse around this. Leah Jeffries is a child. The people who are online cyberbullying Leah Jeffries and getting her TikTok account blocked or whatever it was, I don't know how TikTok works, but the people who are like actively cyberbullying a child online because they don't like that the character is being played by a black girl, that's a horrible and unjustifiable thing to do. The people who are online just saying, I mean, listen, I just imagine the character as blonde and I don't like that she's not blonde anymore. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Let's put that later on in the video. We can discuss your thoughts and how I would address them. Rick Riordan has already released a statement about the backlash against the actress. Overall, I think it was a good statement that he released. I have some thoughts that I want to explore, but first I want to kind of dive into my thoughts on how the show will or should approach the race change of this character. Now, the character's appearance. There's been a lot of fan art and general speculation as to how they're going to adapt Annabeth's appearance. Is the actress going to have blonde hair as the character? In what way would they implement that? Is she going to have gray eyes as the character? In what way would they implement that? One person I saw on Tumblr who I guess wanted to distinguish themselves from the racists who don't like the casting of Annabeth said something along the lines of, well, now we're just gonna have another black character with special eyes and special hair, so how is that a victory? Which, I mean, okay, there is something valid in that statement. Rick Riordan's books do kind of have a trend of giving the girls of color hair colors and eye colors that don't come naturally. Piper has her kaleidoscope eyes because she's a daughter of Aphrodite, and Piper is a character who is Native American. I believe she's of Cherokee descent, and Hazel is a black girl character who is given dark skin, but like golden hair and golden eyes because her father is Pluto. Piper has the kaleidoscope eyes, I suppose because Aphrodite is said to change appearance depending on, you know, the viewer's concept of beauty. So Piper's eyes, similarly, they're kind of, you know, change in color. Why do I keep doing hand gestures? And Hazel's hair and eyes are gold because Pluto is the god of riches, and she summons gemstones to her, so it kind of ties in with that. But we don't really see a lot of that in the white characters is the thing. Percy does have sea green eyes, and Annabeth's gray eyes are supposed to be from Athena, but that's not outside of, like, that's not outlandish. Getting back on topic though, should Black Annabeth have blonde hair and gray eyes? I think nix the gray eyes entirely. The gray eyes are unsalvageable, get rid of that, I don't want it. If they do give her gray eyes, I'm not gonna be mad, I just don't want it. As for the hair though, here's where I start, like, from most important to least important. Most important, not straightened at all. I don't think that her hair should be straightened. It's not flat ironed, it's not permed. I am not ideologically against having black characters with straightened hair. I just don't think that it would be a great look for this one. Going on the premise that her hair is not straightened and is in fact being worn natural, my next thing is I don't want it to be bleached all the way. Or if it's a wig, I don't want it to be blonde all the way. I'm thinking like from here down, like a half bleached, or just the tips or something like that. I think my top preference for her hair would be if she has like blonde feed-in braids, but not like blonde all the way, blonde at the bottom half. Feed-in braids. In my mind, Annabeth as a character, her first appearance is with feed-in braids that are blonde on the bottom half, and you know, she shows up, you drool and you sleep, etc. And at some point she no longer has the braids, like she takes them out for whatever reason, and maybe we get a scene like in 2019's A Wrinkle in Time, directed by Ava DuVernay, where, you know, she's like washing her hair in a convenient water source, and Percy gets to see her with her natural hair, and just kind of silently appreciates it and doesn't comment on it at all. And her hairstyles can vary depending on the episode. Maybe in some scenes at Camp Half-Blood, we can just see her casually getting her hair done by a daughter of Aphrodite. That's a nice bonding moment between her and some other characters to show like, oh yeah, she lives at Camp Half-Blood full time. She has developed kinships with the other campers. She has a specific daughter of Aphrodite she always goes to get her braids done. Second point I want to get to, so we already covered the hair and eyes thing. Second point I want to get to is Annabeth's relatives. The people who are complaining that making Annabeth black means that Athena has to be black now, which means that the whole Athena cabin has to be either black or mixed race. They are, one, being racist by implying that that's an undesirable outcome. Like, oh no, now the whole Athena cabin has to be people of color, and Athena has to be a person of color. When will it end? Just like, I mean, do you just really not want to see us around? Jeez. And two, being deliberately or inadvertently obtuse about how the books work with regards to like the appearances of the gods, because it's very explicitly stated many times that they can choose how they look. If you've read the books that you claim to be so protective of, you know that the gods' appearances change. So like, Black Athena doesn't always have to be Black Athena if you're that mad about it. We can like every so now and then is a phrase that exists and is real. We could have a Black Athena and a white Athena and a Filipino Athena. Words are coming out of my mouth and they make sense and are good. She can look however she wants. That being said, I did see someone on Tumblr suggesting that Kiki Lane should play Athena, and I think Kiki Lane is really pretty and I want to see her in more things, so I am gonna go ahead and second that one and say that Kiki Lane should be Athena. The day the news of the casting dropped, I texted my friend just kind of being excited that we have our, you know, main trio cast, and this friend is a huge fan of Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus, so that's why I chose that friend, because I was just like, oh man, we gotta share in this excitement. And then the day after, I texted my friend again. I texted her and I was basically saying, wait a minute, so Annabeth's dad, what do we think about Annabeth's dad? I can actually pull up the text that I sent. I said, at the moment I'm thinking maybe it would be interesting if he's still white. Like, Athena is black, and Annabeth is a brainchild, so she looks like her mom. Would it be wrong though? I feel like dad who isn't there for his daughter would have a very particular vibe if he's black, and a very particular other vibe if he's a white dad who was given a black daughter by a woman he did not have relations with. I feel like there are a lot of different bad ways to do it. Although the fact that he's a professor and didn't fully dip on her already subverts the usual absentee father trope, so maybe it's fine. And my friend's response was basically that she thinks that Annabeth's dad should be black, but that they should just have other black fathers in the show, or black father figures who are supportive and not as absentee as he is. Basically, so long as there is good black father representation in the show, it's okay if Annabeth's father is black. And the suggestion that my friend made was that Chiron, the centaur at Camp Half-Blood, who is kind of a father figure to Annabeth since she lives there and has been there for so long, that Chiron should be black, so that way Annabeth still has that relationship, and it is still being portrayed as, you know, a positive black father figure, and, you know, a healthy black father-daughter relationship in media. It's good to see. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the backlash against the casting and about race lifting in general, because I've been seeing backlash against race lifting for a long time. I'm not gonna speak to like whether the term is offensive, because I'm just using it because it's on TV tropes, so it's kind of more or less the official term right now. Whenever Blacktober rolls around, there's always people who are like, I don't like that you're drawing those characters as black though. And as you know, if you're a longtime viewer of this channel, just because I'm using an adenoidal voice does not mean that I'm being necessarily pejorative necessarily. But anyway, let's dig into this. I'm gonna start by just kind of generously assuming that no one is earnestly saying, oh no, where am I going to get a white female protagonist who's blonde and book smart on a Disney show now? Likewise, the idea that this was done for quote-unquote diversity points is just racist. It's in the same league as like if you're in college and you assume that a black person in your class who you don't consider very smart must have gotten in by affirmative action. If you're finding it easier to believe that they are receiving special treatment based on their race than that they are multifaceted and just have exhibited skills to those in charge of admission that they just haven't exhibited to you, because why would they? That doesn't reflect very well on your mindset. All of this to say, she auditioned for the role and the writer of the book series said that she was perfect for the character. So assuming that she's not good for the character just because of her appearance, despite never having seen her act, is not a good look for you. But now we're gonna talk about the not how I imagined her thing. First, I wanna do a tiny thought experiment, and then I'm gonna kind of just good news, bad news you on that train of thought. So suppose they cast someone blonde and white as Annabeth, and she had a different face shape than you imagined. And don't immediately say it's a false equivalency. I understand that it's not exactly the same thing, but we're kind of just going through the process here. Let's explore. So say you imagined Annabeth with a round face. I think everyone imagined Annabeth with a round face. I can't imagine who didn't, but just assume you imagined Annabeth with kind of a roundish face, and then they cast someone with a very thin face. What is your feeling right now? Are you already saying that's not how I imagined her, I'm unhappy with this? Are you already posting on the internet about how you're not happy with the casting? I don't actually care what the answer is to that question. So like if you're saying, yes, actually, I already would be pretty mad, then that's not an accomplishment. I'm not impressed by that, but we're moving on. As I mentioned earlier, the books described Annabeth as being a tan-skinned white girl with blonde hair. Now, suppose the person they cast for Annabeth was pale-skinned, like very pale-skinned, straight up Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland level of pale. Would that register for you? Like, would you consciously go, wait a minute, she's pale? One comparable thing, I think, to this idea is Luna Lovegood in the Harry Potter movies, and I'm sorry. In the Harry Potter books, I do not support J.K. Rowling, in the Harry Potter books, Luna Lovegood is described as having dirty blonde hair. Let me actually pull out the book to make sure I'm right about that before I get roasted. Did you see me catch that? I still own the books because I owned the books before all of this. Yep, dirty blonde hair. She has dirty blonde hair. I've confirmed it. I'm right about this. That was a bad throw. The book character of Luna Lovegood is described as having dirty blonde hair. The actress in the movie has very pale blonde hair, and I have not seen anyone complain about it, and I also have not seen anyone draw fan art of Luna that was accurate to her book hair. In one of the Harry Potter fanfictions that I started writing in the past, I described Luna's hair as being like kind of honeyish in shade, and one of the commenters corrected me saying, in the books her hair is like a pale blonde. Is there a reason you changed it? That person wasn't being malicious, like I've had mean comments before and this was not one of them, but it was like inaccurate to the books. It was assuming the movie's version instead of the book's version. So the idea of Luna as someone with pale blonde hair has very much supplanted the book idea of Luna, and I find that very interesting. Similarly, Rue in the Hunger Games books is described very clearly as black, and when the movies casted like the lightest skinned black girl to play her, light skinned to the point that it is actually significantly lighter skinned than the book description of Rue, when they cast a black girl to play Rue, there was a whole like backlash about that, and there are already YouTube videos about that that are very good, so you should watch those. And I think this resistance to making even brown characters brown in your mind does have historical roots. When I was younger, I read the book A Little Princess, and it's about a girl who came from India, but that was before I knew about like British colonization of India, so I was like, oh, she comes from India, and she's repeatedly described as brown, so I know what I think she looks like. But later on in life, I was like, oh, they mean tan. Like, I was supposed to understand, oh no, I don't mean the color brown. Of course not. You think I'm writing this book with a protagonist who is a person of color? No, of course I mean a white girl who is, like, tinted by the sun, the rays of the sun. Like, boy, I hope that when I edit this, it's gonna sound like a train of thought that makes sense and not just me rambling about various topics as they come to mind. This is exactly what I feared. Anyway, to the good news, bad news. I said I was gonna good news, bad news you, and here it comes. The good news, and don't use this as like a bludgeoning tool in arguments, I'm so serious. If I start seeing people saying this, I'm gonna be very annoyed. The good news is, I believe you would have this reaction about things that aren't race. It is faint good news, and when I get to the bad news, I need you to listen to it. You also do it with hair color, which granted is highly associated with race. You and I together, we could have like a fun little brainstorm session about how the things we get attached to about characters' appearance is related to race and social status and presumed class status, and then separately a conversation about how we might use that as an excuse to keep characters looking a certain way. Like, oh no, how can we believe this character is poor/starving if they're not very, very skinny? But I'm sure if they made the Camp Half-Blood t-shirt blue instead of orange, people would be very annoyed about that because they got it in their heads that the shirt is orange, so why is it blue now? But I'm pretty sure they wouldn't tweet at the costume director or tweet at the child actors wearing the shirts that an adult decided to make blue. So that's your good news. This isn't absolutely exclusively a reaction you would have to race. I've seen so many people on Tumblr who are kind of whispering amongst each other like, I'm not comfortable with this Annabeth casting. Oh, thank goodness you agree with me. I was feeling like a bad person or something because all of these people of color are saying that if you're mad about it, you're wrong. But I wanted Annabeth to look like me. And like, listen. There's so many, you have so many, it's fine. This isn't absolutely exclusively a race thing, which doesn't mean it's not a race thing. Having it only partially be a race thing doesn't mean that it's not a race thing. It is a low bar to clear. The fact that you're willing to just quietly assume that they'll dye Walker Scobell's hair, but then like you get actively defensive or even passively defensive when Annabeth is cast as a black girl is pretty bogus, which leads into our bad news. The bad news is that this is something you just kind of have to get over. It's not something you can really rationalize your way through and be like, oh no, I'm right actually. You just kind of have to get over it. On this one, the idea that you're as bothered by Walker Scobell's hair being brown as you are by Annabeth being brown is not a defense for you. At the end of the day, the two aren't comparable. If the first set of set photos or like stills from the show have Walker with hair that has been dyed black, you are then satisfied. If they show Leah with like the feed-in braids that are blonde or a blonde wig or whatever, you're still gonna feel that discomfort on some level, and maybe not every level, but on some level you don't like to see black people where you don't expect black people, and that's something you kind of have to like push yourself until you stop feeling it. As I alluded to earlier, there are a lot of blonde characters who fill the character niche that Annabeth fills. There is even already a blonde Annabeth in the musical and in the second movie. And Annabeth's blondness isn't her whole thing. People who use her blondness as part of her character usually point to like, oh no, her blondness is a reason that she's underestimated. People underestimate her intelligence because she's blonde, and like every single person who's been a black girl in probably any Western school system just goes, oh, we really lose that in the transition, don't we? I'm trying not to be too sarcastic. Her blondness is less important as a character trait than her fear of spiders, and if the show included a scene where she just casually flicks a spider off someone's shoulder or something, the most I would react would be to kind of lean over to the person next to me and be like, you know, in the book she was actually deathly afraid of spiders because of her mom's, you know, past with arachne, and you know, I guess I'd push my glasses up my nose authoritatively like, haha, I remember a detail from the books I read years ago. The crucial character traits for them to hit are her strategic skills, specifically how they manifest, because if they get that capture the flag scene wrong, I'm gonna be a bit irked. Her fatal flaw being pride, that's a big one. Her love for architecture, her friendships, her defiance, like she's gotta defy that Sphinx, man. I gotta see that Sphinx scene. Also, and this is another thing that I'm worried is gonna be like used as a bludgeoning tool in arguments of people I don't agree with, so I hesitate to even say it, but by your own description of the problem you have with the casting, your problem isn't with a black Annabeth, it's with a lack of a blonde Annabeth, which while I've already said you have a blonde Annabeth in the musical and in the second movie, that means that it's the fault of copyright. The lack of blonde Annabeth is the fault of copyright, which says, oh no, this belongs to Disney, you can't make as many adaptations of Percy Jackson as you want. It's not the fault of the people in charge of casting this show, it's not the fault of Leah Jeffries. And I'm also not saying to change your rhetoric from I wish Annabeth were white again to I wish we had another show where Annabeth could be white or something like that, because we'll see through it and then you're still not confronting your apparent inability to just like feel the same amount of empathy for a black character as you would for a white character. I'm speaking about the gap in empathy between different races. If you're feeling less empathy for black characters than you are for white characters, then that's something you kind of already need to be working on. So looking through the eyes of a black Annabeth would be a good thing to do. At the risk of continuing to just spiral into random topics, it's also something that seems to be exacerbated by like the just absolutely outlandishly black suffering movies and shows that exist of like, all right, let's really nail that slavery movie this time, and like, oh good, we got another one, let's just really slurp that one up. That sounded gross. And another separate thing, I've actually been in arguments with people about what qualifies as black suffering and such, where they'll say like, oh, you always talk about when black characters suffer, why are black characters not allowed to suffer and white characters are? And it's like, no, it's not about whether black characters suffer, it's about how their suffering is treated. That's why I'm upset when Wanda cavalierly throws a black woman through like 4 walls, but not upset when Rhodey gets burnt out of an Iron Man suit. I'm talking about the scene from Iron Man 3, by the way, not the scene in Civil War. I do feel a little weird about the scene from Civil War because in that one, Rhodey's pain is largely used as like a motivation thing for Tony. Like, it's not, oh no, Rhodey's hurt. It's, oh no, Tony's friend is hurt. It's like they fridged him, but he didn't die. They hit him with the fridge. Is that gonna be a TV trope now? I want that to be a TV trope where like you hurt a character to inspire another character. They hit him with the fridge. Boy, that was everything on my list, but I feel like I want to keep talking. I didn't talk about Grover much. I've never seen that actor in anything, and curiously, I haven't seen any online compilation videos of him being perfect for the role like I saw for Walker, which is like pretty suspect. Like, hey, y'all were really excited to make those little compilation videos for Walker, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing like a lot of crickets for Leah and Aryan. Maybe it's just my YouTube recommended section. I'll search it up and see if I'm wrong. Maybe YouTube isn't sending me the videos like it sent me the Walker videos. But I'm sure they'll all be great for the part because they auditioned for the part, and Rick Riordan specifically said, hey, they'll be great for the part. And I saw one, like, I think it was a TikTok or something. I don't know. It was on Tumblr. I don't know where the video came from. Maybe Instagram or something. But I saw a video of Leah Jeffries talking to someone in like a stream who said, oh, I'm staying up late and I have finals tomorrow. And she was like, no, go to bed. You have to be awake for finals. And everyone was like, that is very Annabeth of her. And it's like, yeah, it is. I hope you enjoyed this ramble. The Twilight video will be next this time, unless there's some more great casting news in the interim. Have a wonderful day. Don't cyberbully anyone online. That was redundant. Don't cyberbully anyone. Also be gentle with yourself. Take a walk. As long or short a walk as you want, but like, hey, maybe kind of walk around the kitchen island or something. If you are not someone who has that physical ability, move within your range of motion. Myself, I'll be doing some mental gymnastics. And maybe going on a treadmill or something. Nah, I'll probably just take a regular walk. Because then you get to see trees and rocks and people walking their dogs and birds. I'm gonna turn off the AC, it's getting a bit chilly in here. And have a great day.